pleasures of all time, Jason X. Yes. Oh, how do I describe how much I love this movie? First of all, let's be blunt here. It's Jason in space. Either you're on board for this or you're not, and boy fucking howdy was my ass on board when I saw the trailers for this thing.
You guys might want to run.
That's right, just show Jason in space and insert any song from Johnny Pool here. My ass is in the seat. The rest is the standard Friday the 13th formula, but in space. And I'm 100% okay with that, because not once does this movie ever ask you to take it seriously. It knows it's ridiculous and just aims to be a fun experience. And it honestly is. The dialogue is so amazingly cheesy. Remember these amazing lines?
It's gonna take more than a poke in the ribs to put down this old dog. Yeah, that ought to do it.
Afraid I'm gonna have to hurt you now. It's been modified.
Oh, you think? Oh, this stuff's got so many levels!
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
We love premarital sex!
The dialogue is so cheesy, it's funny as hell. The characters are ridiculous, but kind of memorable. And the kills are some of the best in the franchise. My absolute favorite Jason kill is from this movie. I'm sorry, you're not topping that. That is as brutal as it is hilarious. There is a scene in this flick where Jason has a battle royale with a sexy android. Then he is resurrected as Uber Jason. I'm sorry, what is there not to love about this film? This is awesome. Hell, my biggest complaint for this movie was that there wasn't enough Uber Jason. I mean, for a movie pushing the tagline, evil gets an upgrade, he only has the upgrade for like 20 fucking minutes before the movie ends. Jason X is ridiculously stupid, and the farthest thing from high art, but my god is it fun as all hell. So, yeah, you could choose to look at this movie as when the series took it too far, or you could look at it for what it was always meant to be. A fun and stupid little film that was only made to keep the lights on until the producers could get Freddy vs. Jason off the ground. I'm not even kidding about that, look it up. And number 6 for me is going to be Friday the 13th Part 2. This was our introduction to Jason, and please don't let its placement on this list fool you, as I really love this movie a lot. I'm actually a big fan of Steve Miner as a director, and even despite its dragged-out first half, I liked the work he did on Part 3. But with Friday the 13th Part 2, Miner created a great atmosphere and sense of dread once Jason started his killing spree. Even the opening sequence, where he kills Alice, is filmed beautifully. You know, once you get past the stupid recap of the first film. The head in the fridge, the ice pick through the head. Yeah, it sucks that Alice had to die, but she killed Mommy. You don't kill Mommy and walk away, so you did, bitch. I found the characters in this movie very likable. The actors, like the ones in the original, have a good chemistry with one another. I love the final girl in this movie, played by Amy Steele. Ginny is a wonderfully written character, and Steele does a beautiful job playing her. This is no surprise to me, as Amy Steele played a final girl of sorts in one of my favorite horror films, April Fool's Day. I love her final standoff with Jason and how she plays it. The movie smartly establishes early on that she studies child psychology, so the ending doesn't come out of left field.
Jason! It's all done, Jason. You've done your job well, and Mommy is pleased. It's a good boy. Now come to Mommy. Come on. Come on.
The kills are very memorable and well done. The machete in the face, Ralph being strangled, the spear through the bed. These are some cool scenes. Now, people really like to mock the burlap sack that he wears for the first outing, but honestly, I love it. It's believable to me that a deformed mongoloid living in the woods for God knows how many years would be more comfortable and accustomed to hiding his face in an everyday burlap sack than he would a hockey mask. I'm not knocking the hockey mask, but the burlap sack always made more sense to me from a logical standpoint. I mean, how would you picture a mongoloid? Burlap sack with one eye hole or a roided-up Casey Jones? Just think about it is all I'm saying. Overall, Friday the 13th Part 2 is definitely one of the better films in this franchise. Now we get into my controversial top 5. Because you know this list wasn't controversial enough. And number 5 is a film that has gotten crapped on for way too long, gets more shit than it deserves, and honestly, it's in desperate need of a fair shake from the fans. And you haven't seen it on the list yet, so you might have guessed that it's Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. This is the one that gets dismissed because the killer isn't Jason, but that's why I love the film. I don't need Jason to be the killer for the entire series. There is nothing wrong with trying something new while still maintaining a similar formula, because that's exactly what this film does. Jason's head was mutilated at the end of Part 4. He was dead. Kaput. End of story.
Hell, the title is A New Beginning! What the fuck were you people expecting from a movie called A New Beginning?
A New Beginning is honestly the only one that comes close to emulating that original movie in terms of mystery and suspense. That's right, I said it. Bring the hate mail. What's up, bitches? This movie just said, hey, Jason's dead, but he wasn't the only killer in this franchise. Let's have a new killer while simultaneously setting up another killer for a future movie. I'm sorry, guys. They had the right idea here, but no. Everyone bitched. Everyone wanted Jason back, so we got that unbelievably retarded opening in Part 6 just so the fans could get their Jason boners back. Thanks a lot.
I really hope that no other horror franchises in the future take a cue from this. Oh, wait. Okay. Said my piece. I'm good. Fine. Cool. Fine.
Let's just talk about why I love this movie. First of all, the main character, Tommy Jarvis, and his portrayal by John Shepard is wonderful. This is a kid who's gone through the traumatic experience of not only surviving Jason, but being the one to actually kill him. Throughout the film, when he's on screen, you get such a good understanding of how that experience messed him up and the torment he's living with. He's so tormented that at times you think he might actually be the killer. And even he thinks he might be the killer. I'm sorry, this is so much more interesting than the annoying jackass we were given in Jason Lives. The film, like the original Friday the 13th, is more of a murder mystery. While the killer in this film is nowhere near as interesting a character as Pamela Voorhees, we actually see this killer a couple times in the film before he's shown to us. Compare this to the original, which had plenty of red herrings, but never actually showed the killer before she revealed herself. They both work, but on different levels. Here it's treated like a twist, whereas in the original, it's simply just a reveal. On top of this, without spoiling anything, both this killer and Mrs. Voorhees have similar motives for their killings, so it definitely fits with the overall themes of the series. In my opinion, the characters, the new approach, and the mystery angle were enough to make this one of my favorites of the series. However, while I do hold it in higher regard than most, I have to admit the comedy in the film kind of kills it at times. There's some hick woman and her son that show up and come across more annoying than anything else, and they really have no place here. I'll also concede that while the kills are pretty serviceable, that's all most of them are. Serviceable. The one exception being the tree kill, which was pretty fucking intense in my opinion. The film isn't perfect. It has many flaws, just like every film in this franchise, but I love it because it actually took Friday the 13th back to its roots and tried something new with the original film's formula. It said, no, we're not just gonna cheat and do something stupid to bring Jason back. We're not hacks. We're gonna try something more psychological and interesting, whether you like it or not. I get some of the backlash, but the hate this movie gets just for not having Jason is beyond ridiculous. It's so undeserved. The ending of this movie set up something really interesting that sadly we would never see come to fruition because of the fan backlash, and it really angers me. Guys, please give this film another chance. It more than earned it.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing. Coming in at number 4 is the awesomeness that is Freddy vs. Jason. You're finally here.
Ever since the ending of Jason Goes to Hell, fans were begging for this movie, and while it would take another 10 years for it to get made, it was well worth the wait. I love this movie to death. It is a film that respects both franchises with a ton of callbacks to the previous entries, and gives us two of the biggest titans in horror, duking it out in the most entertaining ways you can imagine. Freddy flicking Jason around the boiler room like a pinball machine, Freddy launching oxygen tanks at Jason like torpedoes, Jason smashing Freddy through windows. When it comes to these two fighting, director Ronnie Yu of Bride of Chucky fame pulled out all the stops. The characters in this movie aren't half bad either. They're more memorable than most of the characters in the Friday the 13th franchise, and they can be fun. All except for Ghetto Jason Mewes. Yeah, fuck that guy. What the fuck was that shit? Robert Englund is as enjoyable as ever as Freddy Krueger, and Ken Krasinski, while nowhere near as good a Jason as Kane Hodder, does a fine job as the character. I will admit, it was a little shitty that they didn't let Kane Hodder play Jason, as he stated for years that he wanted to, quote, kick Freddy's ass in a movie. But for what I got, I wasn't dissatisfied. There are a few drawbacks to this movie, though. For one, they didn't get Betsy Palmer to play Mrs. Voorhees, and it's a bit distracting, to be honest. On top of that, Jason Ritter's performance, it's just dead on arrival, no pun intended. Other than that, I really don't have many issues with this film. It's a fun versus movie that respects the legacies of two classic horror franchises. Number 3 for me is another film that gets so much more shit from people than it really deserves, and that is Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. Most people I know don't like this movie, and I honestly don't understand why. It has one of the best main protagonists of the series, it has great kills, it has genuine suspense, it has a unique premise, which is a pretty tall order for this series when you think about it. And it was the first Friday film to give us Kane Hodder as Jason. It's funny because this film was originally planned as Freddy vs. Jason. Now, Paramount and New Line at the time couldn't reach an agreement, and while that film would eventually happen, them not reaching a deal left this film open to creating something unique. Jason facing someone else with power. In this case, telekinesis. Yeah, it's essentially Jason versus Carrie. That is awesome! Why is no one acknowledging this? Why is this the one people tend to forget about the most? Look at this shit! This girl fucks Jason's shit up. She drops a house on him, hangs him, lights his ass on fire, blows up a house with him inside of it. We've had a lot of great final girls in this series, but I'm sorry, I'm calling it. Laura Park Lincoln as Tina Shepard is the absolute best. She is made of awesome. And even when she's not fighting Jason, she pulls in one hell of a performance. It's such a great performance that does not get enough attention. The only thing I will grant the haters of this film is that while I love the final showdown between Jason and Tina, how Jason is ultimately defeated is kind of stupid. I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, and I understand what they were going for, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you stop to think about it. The rest of this movie is damn near flawless in my opinion. The premise is fun, the pacing is excellent. Jason has honestly never looked more horrifying. The kills are brutal in some areas, and the final girl is my favorite of the series. Guys, we gotta turn this around. This is a Friday the 13th film that has gone unappreciated for too long and deserves a fair shake. If you've never seen this, I highly recommend it. This is hard for me, guys. It's really hard. But it has to be said. You can do it. It is. Number 2 is the original Friday the 13th. Yeah, shut up. Yes. And that actually surprises the hell out of me, because for those that don't know, this is actually one of my favorite horror films. I was watching this series at first just saying to myself, yeah, the original's going to be king, nothing's going to top it for me. I was wrong. I found one other film in this series that I liked a little better than this, so yeah, I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. And we'll get to that film in a minute, but first let me phrase this. What Sean Cunningham and writer Victor Miller did so well in this film was a sense of anonymity for the killer. All the kills are done using the killer's POV, and the film never hints at their identity. Now, some people hold this movie's feet to the fire by saying that the movie cheats because we never see the killer before their reveal, and thus the audience does not have a fair shake at figuring things out. I'm calling bullshit on this, and I'll tell you why. Very simple. It's not a twist. It's a reveal. There's a difference. And not a fair shake, this film gives you a ton of clues. Townspeople saying the camp is cursed, an old man telling the counselors they're all doomed, the information that a young boy drowned in a lake, and that a bunch of counselors were murdered the following year. Like any good mystery, it doesn't hold your hand and trust you to try to put the pieces together yourself. Even if the film had made her someone in town or someone helping at the camp, I'm pretty sure her son drowning in a lake would have come up in some type of conversation. I'm sorry, but that argument's total bullshit. I've listened to it for years, and it still pisses me off. Moving on. The kills in this movie are unforgettable. The arrow under the bed, the axe to the head, that hiker slowly backing up against a tree with nowhere to run as her throat is slit. The list goes on. But my favorite kill, which I have mentioned in the past, is the archery range scene. To see it happening to know what happened. It's like the truck scene in The Hitcher. Just imagining what happens in your head is more horrifying than anything that can be shown on screen. The suspense is wonderful throughout the film, and I really like the characters in this. They're not the best characters in the series or anything, but they feel like real people. They don't feel like scripted characters. These feel like actual people, and they work for the realistic approach this movie is going for. People often forget that the supernatural shit didn't really come into fruition until the sequels. Even if people want to argue Jason coming out of the lake at the end, that was just a dream, so it wasn't real. But what I really like about these characters is that there really isn't a main one until the end. This was something I loved in the movie Alien as well. There is no real main character. Everyone pretty much gets equal screen time until the ending, where the last heroine standing has to confront the monster. Or the elderly woman wielding a knife, you pick. Adrienne King, Kevin Bacon, Laurie Bartram, may she rest in peace, and even Janine Taylor all do good work with the material they're given. But obviously, the star performance in this movie is Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees. This woman owns it. She's creepy, she's strong, she's intimidating, and at times, scary as shit. Not traits you usually associate with elderly women, but there you go. I remember being so creeped out seeing this for the first time and watching her imitate her son's voice. Palmer doesn't come in until like the last 30 minutes of the film, but she makes one hell of an impression. And lastly, who could forget Tom Savini's brilliant makeup effects? When a girl gets an axe through her head, it looks like the girl actually got an axe through her head. It's brilliant. And please, do not think that I'm only putting this film towards the top because of nostalgia. I literally watched this film and the #1 film last night just to be sure I wasn't going crazy. This film, despite the things that have obviously aged it, is still damn impressive for an 80s slasher film. The funny thing is, much like Jason X, this movie was only made to keep the lights on for Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller. Yeah, apparently they were waiting for a TV pilot of theirs to be picked up and made this in the meantime. In the end, this proved successful and the pilot of theirs never even got picked up. It's actually a really funny story when you think about it. One of the most successful horror franchises happened by accident. That is fucking funny. But for me, the original Friday the 13th stands on its own as a testament to great horror and suspense. I love its passion and I love its campy charm. No pun intended. It was great before the sequels, and only one of those sequels managed to top it for me. What is it? Let's take a look.
Hey, what you doing on this mess?
You haven't seen it on this list, so you probably guessed through process of elimination that my pick for #1 is Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter. And please, before you go to the comment box, please don't think that this was a landslide victory. I really struggled between this and the original for the #1 spot when making this list, and while I do feel the original does several things better than The Final Chapter, I have to admit, The Final Chapter is slightly more entertaining. The main factor that does it for me is that this film, in my opinion, has the best group of characters. Corey Feldman, as the original Tommy Jarvis of the franchise, pulls in a wonderful performance as a kid who confronts Jason. I thought the whole subplot of him making MASH was a nice homage to Tom Savini, and the fact that it becomes a major plot point later in the film only made it better. This film smartly knows how to set itself up for success. I love all the side characters and the actors playing them. They are so much fun to watch. They don't have the amount of realism that the original's characters had, but this film had better actors, if I'm being honest. When Jason started hacking his way through these characters, for the first time in this franchise, I felt horrible for each one of them. Usually I'll latch on to a few characters, but there's always usually a few that aren't interesting and you know are only in the film to add to the body count. But with these characters, I didn't want any of them to die. I loved these guys. I wanted more of them. Especially Crispin Glover. That guy was hilarious. He's awesome in this flick. This film is suspenseful, it's at times unbearably tense, and the actor playing Jason this time is just brutal. The kills are great, the score is great, and the final showdown between Tommy Jarvis and Jason is just brilliant. This is not only one of the best in the series, I'll go as far as to say this is one of the best sequels ever made, as well as one of the best slasher films of all time. While I still hold the original in very high regard, this film slowly edged it out of the top spot for me. And I definitely understand all the hype it's gotten from fans over the years. So what's your ranking of this franchise? Please let me know in the comments below, and please subscribe if you want to see more.
So guys, that was my reaction to FilmMasterAdams' ranking of the Friday the 13th films. This video is really awesome. FilmMasterAdams' videos are so awesome, so if you guys haven't seen his channel, I highly recommend that you guys check it out. And yeah, so please be sure to comment down below, subscribe, hit the like button, press the notification bell to be notified about future videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye.